Yeah. So this is where we moved. So last also a very famous, a competition for Heuer also is to be an official timekeeper of the Olympic Games of Moscow and Lakes Placid in 1980. So it was under the Swiss Timing Consortium. So Swiss Timing, this is Omega, this was Longines, and this was Heuer. So because in 1980, Seiko also wanted to be an official timekeeper of the Olympic Games, and the Swiss brands didn't want to have Seiko as official timekeeper, so they decided at the beginning of the 70s to stick together. To under this Swiss timing name.
What's the name? TAG era
Technique d'avant-garde.
Is it written in any place?
Yeah, here TAG, technique d'avant-garde. It's not written. It's funny. Technique
I'd
d'avant-garde.
like to have this.
Yeah.
Technique
I see that. It's funny. Maybe later. You're right, it's not written. Technique d'avant-garde. I'll try to find one. So,
muito importante.
still Heuer, you see, titanium last collection, and then the series 1000, 1500, 2000, 3000, 4000.
Yeah.
Not really original, but
Amazing.
anyway, it's and then TAG Heuer. And the most well-known collection from this name change is the Formula One.
Yes.
And the Formula One, they haven't been developed for the car, for the Formula One races. It was the brief for the designer at the time was for the surfers. So with like bright colors, something really.
This one is from that age?
Absolutely, this is the original one from 1986. So they were supposed to be for surfers at the time, and then TAG bought Heuer, and they turned this watch for maybe for the pilots and then the colors, all the colors of the new Formula One, they correspond to the livery of the cars, of the Formula One cars.
Oh.
So, but originally, I mean, the brief at the beginning for this collection was for surfers, comes from the surfers.
And what was the name?
Well, at the beginning, it was not even Formula One. It had no name.
Okay.
It had no name.
Okay.
And then with TAG buying Heuer, they gave the name Formula One.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But at the beginning, no name.
Okay.
So it was it's really interesting because we're still in touch with the designer of the period of this sign, so Eddie Burgener. So it's really interesting to see how you start to work on a project and how it evolves due to new.
Almost 50 years.
Yeah. And then the next collection that would come to the new TAG Heuer entity is the SEL, Sport and Elegance, SEL collection that you will know more specifically with Senna.
Senna, yes. I didn't know it was Sport and Elegance.
Sport and Elegance,
I
yeah.
didn't know.
SEL, yeah. S/EL, Sport and Elegance.
Nice.
Yeah. And it's been huge collection. So I mean, one of the most important collection of that period, and because in the end of the 80s, when TAG bought the company, they had to rebuild almost everything because Heuer was like. I can't say empty, but
Crashing.
Yeah, they had to start from fresh. So we had these three musketeers, we love to call them like that, but Mr. Virose, Mr. Champion, and Mr. Perramon. So they were auditors that TAG asked to work on the company, how we can make it evolve, what could be the future for the company, this company, and they had to rethink it from the beginning, and they pushed the name with like this very well-known brand campaign or success it's a mind game, don't crack under pressure, inner strength. And in the end of the 90s, TAG Heuer was like one of the most luxurious brand. So it's crazy how within 15 years, how they can rebuild the brand and push it to the top. So we also did a lot of diving pieces, sailing pieces, for the regatta, early in the 50s, we were already developing like the Solunar with the tide indicators, of course the Seafarer with Abercrombie and Fitch, the Skipper. Maybe you've seen the re-edition we did last year or 2 years ago. So we were how can I say that? Focus on diving and sailing activities. This is more around all the design, the company, different styles. So you have the Silverstone, which were supposed to replace the Monaco, which were too square, with two sharp edges. So they replaced it with the Silverstone in 1974. We had like this very specific quartz one especially for the US market, with the Manhattan, the Ford. And you see also the evolution of the sport and elegance, the SEL, to the link. You can see the evolution of the design of the link. So to his current design, new materials also, end of the 80s, beginning of 2000, titanium, carbon. Very light pieces with the golf watch developed in partnership with Tiger Wood, and also of course the Monaco and the Carrera, which are today the main collection, the main iconic pieces that we. It's really interesting because Carrera and Monaco, they can tell about the Heuer story, but they can also speak about innovation. So if you look at the very first Carrera and what we are just doing now with the Carrera Carbon Air Spring, for example, so it's totally different, but they're still Carrera. And the Monaco, you have the Monaco from 1969, and now you have the Monaco Air. With this crazy, have you seen it maybe, this Monaco Air? We unveiled it like a few weeks ago, so it's a complete crazy case. Looks like a car, or it's a so innovation with the materials and with the movements. So it's really how TAG Heuer has been evolving these 10-15 years. So it's we're now in a trend where innovation, where horlogerie d'avant-garde, all the movement strategy are evolved so much. It took time for TAG Heuer to be legitimate as a manufacturer, because we had to rebuild almost everything from the quartz crisis. But now, beginning of the 2000, especially when we unveiled our own in-house caliber in 2010, so now we're proposing more and more movement from Chevenet, all the and you have all these complications with l'astronומeur, the skipper, all these ones with different functionalities, and so this is really interesting how the company and the brand is evolving. So yeah, of course we talk about Senna already. So this is when we moved from TAG Heuer to the LVMH group. So we saw also the evolution of the collection. Something interesting to say also maybe. Why? I mean, when the Heuer company were bought by Piaget, the Piaget strategy, they decided to stop producing the Carrera and the Monaco and the Ottaria. So for nearly 10 years, there were no more Monaco, no more Carrera in the catalog. So 1996, they decided to relaunch the Carrera. Yeah. And then in 1998, they decided to relaunch the Monaco. So big 60s, he spent 2 years in New York, and really end of the 50s, his father and his uncle were the shareholders of the company. But his uncle called him, saying he was about to sell his shareholders. So Jack has to come back from New York to handle the company. And this is really interesting because at the end of the 50s, you can imagine you are in New York, you have all these new way of communication around like marketing, all these big campaigns, these new like piano, these publicists, these
that Heuer in TAG Heuer is, which is the year?
It's 1986.
1986.
Yeah.
86.
Yeah. So when Jack took
only Heuer.
Yeah, it's only Heuer. So when Jack took the lead of the company, so one of the first things he would do is to like clean a little bit the retail network, because the partner we had at the time, we had like some issues that were not really relevant. They were like a multi or wholesaler, multi-brand. So Heuer sometimes it's not the brand they would really push. So he launched the Ottaria, 1963, the Carrera, maybe where the names come from the Carrera Panamericana. This very dangerous race that was in Mexico from 1950 to 1955. So the Mexican government, to celebrate this highway from the north to the south of the country, they did this Panamericana race, and that's called the Carrera. So when Jack Heuer heard about this name, so it was in 1969, he was attending the 12 hours of Sebring in Florida, and he was talking with his Rodriguez brothers from Mexican, and the guys they talked about this crazy race called the Carrera Panamericana. So he came back to Switzerland and said, "Whoa, the name sounds great," because he was like very enthusiastic with cars races. So he kept the name, and then this was the second collection he did launch, so the Carrera. So 1963, and then from all these like decades, 60s, 70s, early 80s, it's like a very interesting period because we were producing mechanical watches. We were starting to produce electronic devices because Jack, as an engineer, and he spent 2 years in the US. He was really aware of these new technologies, so he's been to the Silicon Valley. He heard about this, like a new processor, new electronic chips, everything. So he established a new company in Switzerland, the Heuer Electronic Company. So he started to develop electronic devices, and in the same time, in partnership with Breitling, Hamilton, Dubois-Desprats, and Buren, in 1969, we unveiled the very first automatic chronograph. It was specific period because in January 1969, Zenith unveiled the El Primero, but it was just the concept. There were just only prototypes. TAG Heuer unveiled the chronomatic in March and was already available commercially speaking. And then Seiko came a few months later with their own automatic movement. So within 6 months, 3 big names, 3 big companies proposed automatic prototype. So to support this new movement, we used the new collection, the Monaco. So for it, it was the caliber 11, also named
The
chronomatic.
first one was Primero.
Well, but it was only prototype. So they were not commercially available. They started after. So January 69, Zenith already talked about this new automatic movement, but it was only prototype. Whereas Heuer already commercialized it in March. But we don't say we are the very first.
But Seiko also did.
Yeah, I think it was in September or something, or even before. It's really funny because within less than 6 months, we have these 3 companies offering like this very new automatic movement. So it's really interesting. So Heuer decided to equip all these collections with the caliber 11, so the Carrera, the Monaco, and the Ottavia. And for the collectors, if you look at, if you find like Carrera, Ottavia, or Monaco with chronomatic name on the dial, it's very, very, very rare because chronomatic name lasted only 6 months. We let the name to Breitling. So Breitling kept the name chronomatic because they had no real name to push this new caliber. So we let it to Breitling. So for collectors, when you find a Monaco or Ottavia or Carrera with chronomatic on the dial, it's it's like a treasure. It's like the piece to have. So. Also, in the same time, so this is our very first partnership with the motor racing industry, and our very first ambassador was Swiss, Joe Siffert. Maybe you heard that, you already heard that name. So Joe Siffert was a pilot in Formula 1, he started with others motor racing, yeah. And Joe Siffert was in the Formula 1, and then thanks to him we had like connection with Ferrari. I think that before 1970, it seems Ferrari was not really in a good position, especially the 24 hours of Le Mans. They were like no winning for a long time, let's say. So they looked to find solution to improve their performances, let's say. And since we were developing new electronic devices which were able to time several cars in the same time, you can measure the best lap or all the performances you can have on the racetrack. Ferrari asked us to support them, to help them to improve the performance of the pilots. So the director of the timing, so Jean Campiche, is still very well known. I mean, he had all these. His life was for Heuer. He traveled almost everywhere. He timed all the Grand Prix for like many years. So he worked for Heuer like a long time. And so Jean Campiche would go to Fiorano on the racetrack of Ferrari to help the teams to improve their performances. So they had like some cells on the racetrack, like 40 different cells, maybe. I can't remember the exact number of cells we had. And then you had a transponder on the car. They can read, and you have the centigraph Le Mans, so this big red device over there, and you can time 7 different cars in the same time. and you can say, okay, you got too slow there, you had to accelerate here. So it really helped the teams to improve the performance on the racetrack. So we became official timekeeper for the Ferrari team from 1970 to 1979. So for Heuer, it was like incredible partnership because this was the first time you would have a watch company name on cars, on Formula One cars. So and also in the deal in this partnership, it was decided also that Heuer would offer this 1158, this Carrera, full gold Carrera, to the Ferrari pilot. So we have one from Ronnie Peterson here in the window. So this is an incredible period for Heuer because we were producing electronic devices, with new automatic caliber watches for the Formula One. And of course, thanks to this partnership with Ferrari, we also started to propose other collection wearing the name of the famous racetracks like Silverstone, Monza, Daytona, Montreal. So it was really important, especially in the 70s. And yeah, we have all this cavallino, so the little clock, an alarm clock. So we started with Joe Silford, and then we had with Niki Lauda and other big names, of course.
Fittipaldi, Piquet,
Yeah.
Prost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The most important is
Well, I think it was 2 years ago. So I saw a film, a movie about Latin. It was the first time I saw it. But maybe it was already produced maybe a few years ago, but to me it was the first time. I mean, I cried so much. So the following month, each time I would do a tour here, I would literally try to escape from the windows because I felt so emotional. And it's crazy.
I don't know if you know how big Ayrton it is for us. Like,
I can't imagine because
it's
we're
big.
not Brazilian, but we're really all very connected to him.
Ayrton is like a symbol of
Nationality.
for us. Like when we think in a good person in Brazil, a hero, it's Ayrton for us, for most of
But
our citizens.
I can understand that because, the few I could see, I could hear, I could read about him, and everything is like, he's more than a hero, he's like a god. It's crazy. I mean, he looks like so nice, so friendly, so... I don't know how to say that, but I think there's very few people like him.
Doutor,
Maybe you can have like,
como está a visita ao museu?
Cada peça é icônica, principalmente que representa pra gente a parte do Ayrton Senna. Isso é muito representativo pra gente, o povo brasileiro.
Agora com uma visita guiada, estruturada, muito mais informações
mais
pra
rico,
gente.
né? Cada detalhe que às vezes passa desapercebido.
Legal, né?
Obrigado.
Obrigado você. Prazer ser seu amigo, doutor Igor.
Obrigado. Eu que agradeço.
que tem no museu é o protótipo. É o protótipo do nosso relógio. O protótipo ainda saiu com essa pulseira de couro e toda a história que ele foi lançado depois da morte do Ayrton Senna e planejado o Ayrton Senna ainda vivo. Toda a história, ela sabe, tem tudo aqui no museu. O nosso estava aqui até outro dia, ela falou que um diretor pegou para mostrar para alguém importante e é isso aí. Isso foi o que foi encontrado aqui.
Because we loan 6 pieces during the film, and we had the opportunity to buy back 2 pieces. As you can see, this one is a certified. Yeah. Just maybe to give you some explanation about the museum itself. So we had the chance to unveil this little museum in 2008, and the concept, the idea was you get the impression to go inside the watch. So you have to imagine this is the glass. You have the flange. You have the hour wheel in the column of the hour wheel in the middle, and then you have the time scale around you, so 360 degrees. And if you look at the windows, like the rounded windows from the top, looks like the plate of the movement. So this was the idea at the time, and you are like the ants running on top of the dial. So this was the idea, the concept. So in this museum you have like more than 165 years of history of the company, so from Heuer to TAG Heuer. So Heuer, 1860 to 1982, 120 years family company, 4 generations from Edward to Jack Heuer, who is still our honorary chairman today. And then 1982 to 1985, this is the Piaget family who owns Heuer, and then they sold the company to the Saudi group TAG, Technique d'Avant-Garde, So in 1986, company turns to Heuer to TAG Heuer. So we merged the two names. And 1st January of 2000, we joined the LVMH group. So we have like 4 main periods for the story of the company. So if you look at the time frame on the wall first, it's the chronological history of the company. So from the pocket watches, stopwatches, to the wristwatch, dashboards, stop timers, and all the evolution of the chronograph and of the 50s. Then we will see a bit more the what we call the 20s, like golden period from the 60s to the 80s, where TAG Heuer took the lead of the company. So, and then we'll see the TAG Heuer period. So for the rounded windows, it's more like thematic windows. The first one is more around the innovation. We'll see the evolution of the pocket watches to the wristwatches, and then in the 30s, all the dashboards and the stopwatches, especially for science uses, laboratory or different uses as well, all the military pieces, and then of course the partnership with Ferrari in the 70s. We'll see also all the diving pieces, a bit of the design that the company tried to explore during all the history, and not the latest collection, because the latest ones you already saw them in the Salle du Conseil. We're a bit limited now with the space, so we hope to extend a little bit or even refresh the museum, but at least we try to explore all these different fields. So of course, when maybe you know a bit of the history of this area, this very specific area, what we call the Arc Horloger. So this, from Geneva to the north of Switzerland, this is where almost all the watchmakers started to implement their little workshop. They started first in Geneva, but for some reason they moved to the mountains. So from the middle of the 19th century, we had plenty of different workshops established themselves all along this Arc Horloger, this very specific geographic sites. So the Heuer family is exactly in this very specific period where we had modernity starting to arrive in the industry. Of course, electricity and end of the 19th century. This is also the beginning of the automobile, aviation, all these very modern new technologies. So Edward Heuer, when he established himself near Bienne, in a little small village called Brugge, he started as an assembler. He was a watchmaker himself. He was 20 years old, but he started to buy the cases, the movement, the different components, and he would assemble all these different parts. So he wasn't producing any of these when he started first, but he was very focused on this new modern era, and he understood very quickly that the industry needed more accurate time keeping instruments. So that's why very quickly he started to focus on the accuracy of the watches. So it was also very common at that period to buy patents, to improve them, and to have new patent. And one of the very first one we developed, that Edward Heuer would develop, is the very first hermetic case. So when we speak about hermetic cases, it's not like waterproofness, as you can understand today. It's more like for hermetic to dust or to humidity. It was more to protect your pocket watch when you will use it under the rain So, and then the other patent that Edward Heuer would also improve, this is the oscillating pinion. So, you're watchmakers, so you know what that means. But for Heuer, it means that very early in the 20th century, we've been able to master the 100th of a second accuracy. So Heuer was one of the first company to be accurate to 100th of a second with the micrograph and the microsplit. So in this window, this is more a conversation around this new patent. So the other hermetic case, oscillating pinion, the micrograph. Of course, in the 30s, we also started to develop dashboards. I do very big jump in the time, but then we had the caliber 11 in the 60s, 1969, with Breitling, so a chronomatic. Then later on, of course, all the quartz and electronic devices, and later on, in the middle of the 2000s, when Jean-Christophe Babin was the head of the company, we had all this period of innovation, and the most well-known pieces were backward with the Monaco before, with the belt and the winding weight for the movement, winning weight. So back to the early days of Heuer, the company would produce only pocket watches, chronograph, and stopwatches, so accurate to 1/10 of a second, 1/50th, 1/100th of a second. We would produce dashboards. We would produce our small ladies' pocket watch. So this will be the main production for the family from the from end of the 19th century to the middle of the 20th century. So really focus on accuracy and on chronograph. So we can really say that Heuer in the watchmaking environment was really the master of chronograph at the time. So especially and until the 70s. So from the beginning until the 70s. So yeah, we had 4 generations helping to develop the manufacture, to develop all these new pieces or chronograph, dashboards, and also this is important to say that very quickly the company started to export. So we were, of course, we had business with all the countries around Switzerland, Germany, France, Australia, Italy. But the very first and big markets we had from the beginning were the UK and US. So we started to export very quickly. And we had the opportunity to digitize our archives a few years ago. And we realized how strong was Heuer, especially on these markets. And that's a bit weird, but we were not that well known in Switzerland. Heuer was much more well known in the UK and in the US, whether in Switzerland it came really later. And there is also something maybe you don't know, but Heuer was not only not only producing stopwatches and pocket watches, but we were also producing stones, ruby, and sapphire, for not for the jewelry, but for the watchmaking industry. So for the movements. But we used to build all the diamonds, sapphire, rubies, and just machine them to use them on the movement. And this activity lasted until the 1930s something around. So and this was a really big activity, and Heuer was really well known for stone precious stone for movement as well. So yeah, of course with the synthetic stones that arise really early, beginning of the 20th century, we had to make some decisions, so that's why we stopped to produce this. But Heuer was an important actor in this field. So yeah, we produce different very crazy pieces. So these one, for example, they were specially exported on the US market under the Rose watch name. So if you look onto the movement, it's not Heuer, it's mentioned Rose watch, because we were meant or obliged to use the importer names in the US. So and these ones, as you can see, they're double side. it's like a crazy watch. You have like, of course, a chronograph, and then if you look behind, on the other side, you have a phonotelemeter, so you can measure the speed of sounds, and you have a curvimeter, so you can calculate the distance on a map. So you have this little wheel just at the bottom of the chronograph, and if you you can't see that right now, but at the top of the chrono pushers you have a little compass, very small one. So we were we were able to produce really complicated pieces, very nice one. But as you can see as well, there was no gold materials. Edward Heuer, when he started to produce timepieces, his goal was really to offer reliable and utilitarian timepieces. So no real luxury pieces, no jewels, no enamel dials or all these things. Well, they are enamel dials, the material, but no miniature, no mini paintings or. So it was like more affordable pieces, like anyone can afford. So yeah, we started to produce plenty of different chronographs, different uses, different accuracy. We were also producing timekeeping instruments for other brands, like especially for the UK markets and for the US. We used to produce the time of trip. So this one is actually on loan, so unfortunately I can't show you, but this was one of the very first dashboard we produced in 1911. So a chronograph with double sub-counters, one for the hours, one for the minutes, and then for when you were traveling or flying, since the fuel gauge was not really reliable at the time, it was better to time your trip, make sure you won't have any issues during your trip. So this one we produce a lot for the UK and for the US markets. So plenty of different chronographs, and so still pocket watches, as you can see. And then when we started at the beginning of the 20th century, Heuer was not the very first brand to offer like wristwatches. We know that other brands did it before us, but we can say that after the First World War, we realized that pocket watches they were not really easy to use, especially during the war. You were in the tranches with your refills, with your flag to manage all the companies, and so it was easier to have something on the wrist. So in our collection, we can see the evolution of the pocket watch. So we're starting to be like adjusted to your wrist with a leather band, folded like a buckle on the pocket watch, while the size is still very big. Sub-counters still at 12 and 6, and slightly the size has been adapted to the size of your wrist. You can see that the crown is turned from 12 to 3 o'clock, and step by step we started to offer a collection of wristwatch. So if we look at the catalogs of the 30s, it's really the end of the pocket watches. So we really decided to stop producing pocket watches. And I think that also all the ladies' little pocket watches we produced in the past, we will no longer produce ladies' pieces in the future. So mainly for men. But if you look at the dial, it's really interesting because they're still like enamel dial. You have like sometimes two different scales on the same dial, like tachymeter, telemeter scale, so still very complicated to read, but very nice. We have like golden case on these ones. Of course, for the luminescent materials on the dial, it's radium. So, and then we have tritium, And of course, later on, we had the Super Nova, but at the time, they were all radium material. So, with the arrival of all these new modern
Coisa linda, não?
engine modern way of life with the aviation and with the cars, Heuer started also to develop dashboards. So although there were no real advertising, no real marketing at the time, it's really interesting to see that Heuer, almost during these new races, Monte Carlo, in France, in Italy, in the UK, in Germany, almost everywhere there were races, of course in the US as well. Maybe in Brazil, I'm sorry, I don't know the history of motor racing in Brazil at the time, but Heuer was really was everywhere on the dashboard. So the name of the company was already very well known to these dashboards. So we started with that single dashboards, just like a chronograph, and then we had double dashboards. You have the clock plus the chronograph, and sometimes even triple dashboards. And we produced the Ottavia, which is the contraction name of automobile and aviation, so Ottavia. And we also produced dashboards for the aviation. And yeah, the company during from the 30s to the 50s, we really focused on timekeeping instruments, stopwatches, various dial, decimal dial, and also new partnership with the motor racing and car industry. So in the 50s, we had few partnerships, and not the one, because maybe you already heard about Auguste Piccard. He's a very well-known Swiss scientist who made tests in very high in the atmosphere, and and also deep diving with the bathyscaphe. So he is very well known. So he asked at the time Heuer to load some timekeeping instrument to measure all the tests or the exploration he did. So this was one of very first partnership we can say. And yeah, if you look from the 50s, so watches and then chronograph, and it will be chronograph for a very long time. So mechanical watch at the time, automatic watches also already in the 50s. So and yeah, this is funny because these ones specifically, especially at the time, they were plenty of different company who would offer this exact same model. Universal Genève, if you look Patek, we all have all the same date au contact, maxi contact. Yeah. And to be honest, there were very few companies who own their own case manufacturer. So we were asking the same suppliers for the case, for the dial. So that's why they look like the same.
Yes.
So, but from the 60s and the 70s, things changed drastically because we saw the reorganization of the watchmaking industry, and this is where some very big brands started to have their own case, their own movement manufacturer. Well, some already have for a long time, but it's I don't know the word in English, but verticalization.
Vertical in Portuguese.
Okay, yeah. So
It's the same.
and of course, 50s, 60s, Heuer would also offer and develop plenty of different military pieces or aviation pieces. So we had for specific one for Argentinian, for the Belgium, for Bundeswehr, for Germany, for the UK, So like black dial somewhere delivered with the constellation, with the map of the stars, so you can fly with a flyback function. So when you fly, when you change the direction, you don't lose time. So you can. So mainly Ochadia, Canada. So yeah, the pilot. So with this double compass, you can make what's the word in nature? With calculation, absolutely. So from kilometers to miles or. Oui, c'est possible. Oui, this is something we need to change. It's like, yeah, they're very scratched. But yeah, and then we have like these ones also, the ones you have all the name of the cities.
It's like a bridge of the
So the last generation, so starting with TAG Heuer. So TAG Heuer, he did his studies in Zurich as an engineer, and he joined the company at the beginning of the.
Then you could fit it on a finished case. So that's a bit if you want to touch on. Sorry. And then here you have also different types of movements. You told me you have the date.
Muito legal pra você.
This is the movement you have in your watch
Percepção que muito agradável, percepção de
as well. And
Realmente
obviously we have TH20, as you're familiar with. We have our own manufacturer movement, but we also work with suppliers where we have exclusive contract with them to produce certain movement. For instance, we work with a manufacturer Voce for the split seconds, or we have also, maybe you've seen it, solar graph. Yeah. Didn't ring a bell? Okay, so we also have this patented, so these are the same. So it's a solar movements. We have a patent on that, and we work with a supplier just 200 meters from here. So we are not directly producing it, but we have those type of exclusive contracts. And this is how the company is structured. We have this combination. And maybe that something quite interesting is that on the solar watches, you can see that the dial is a bit transparent. So it doesn't look like it. Here, what you have, you can see here the dial is a bit transparent, so that then you can put the screen and then the solar movement. But once you set it on the dial, it looks completely black. But it's actually transparent so that you can have the light going through. So it's kind of interesting the difference you have between the dial only and once it's set onto the movement, you have this really difference of let's say color where you cannot really see it. You can see if you want to see from closer. Okay. I didn't mention it before, but with 3D prints, we can also do that with bracelets. What's very interesting, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but is that you can print them in 3D at once. It looks like all different links, but it's printed at once. And what you have is that you have the resin, so the plastic, and then in between